30 days for a total reset. 30 days from now, your life could look completely different or completely the same. The frightening part is that both outcomes are being created by the choices you make today. What if the breakthrough you've been waiting for doesn't require a new year, a new opportunity, or a new life? What if it only requires 30 days of intentional change? Today, we're talking about how to reset your mind, your habits, your direction, and your future in the next 30 days. Let me ask you something. If you repeated the last 30 days of your life over and over again, would you be proud of where you'll be 1 year from now? If that question makes you uncomfortable, stay with me. This message may be exactly what you need. One of the most dangerous beliefs a person can carry is the belief that meaningful change takes an extremely long time. Many people look at their lives, their goals, their habits, and their circumstances and assume that transformation is years away. They convince themselves that becoming healthier, stronger, more disciplined, more successful, or more fulfilled requires some distant future moment that has not yet arrived. As a result, they delay action. They postpone improvement. They wait for motivation, the perfect plan, or ideal conditions. But what if the greatest changes in your life are not as far away as you think? What if 30 days of focused effort could accomplish more than years of wishing? The truth is that life can change much faster than most people realize. Not because 30 days can solve every problem, not because 1 month magically removes every obstacle, but because 30 days is long enough to create momentum, long enough to establish new patterns, long enough to prove to yourself that change is possible. And once a person begins believing change is possible, everything starts to shift. The reason many people remain stuck is not because they lack potential. It is because they underestimate the power of concentrated effort. They spend years thinking about change rather than committing to it. They make promises to themselves but rarely follow through. They dream about a different future while continuing to repeat the behaviors that created their current reality. The problem is not a lack of desire. Most people want better lives. They want better health, better finances, better relationships, greater confidence, more success. The challenge is that wanting something and working toward it are not the same thing. A wish changes nothing. Action changes everything. This is where the power of 30 days becomes remarkable. 30 days creates urgency. It creates focus. It creates a manageable window of commitment. A year may feel overwhelming. 5 years may seem impossible to imagine, but 30 days feels achievable. 30 days allows you to stop thinking about forever and start focusing on today. That shift matters because transformation does not happen in giant leaps. It happens through daily decisions, one better choice at a time. Imagine someone who has spent years neglecting their health. They do not need to lose all the weight in 30 days. They do not need a perfect body in 30 days. They simply need 30 days of better decisions, 30 days of moving more, 30 days of eating with greater intention, 30 days of honoring commitments. The physical changes may be noticeable, but the deeper transformation happens internally. They begin seeing themselves differently. They begin trusting themselves again. They begin realizing they are capable of change. That realization is powerful. The same principle applies to every area of life. A person struggling financially may not become wealthy in 30 days, but 30 days of budgeting, saving, learning, and making smarter decisions can create habits that alter their financial future. Someone lacking confidence may not become fearless in 30 days, but 30 days of keeping promises to themselves can dramatically increase self-belief. A person feeling stuck may not solve every challenge in 1 month, but they can create enough momentum to move forward, and momentum is often the missing ingredient. Many people remain trapped because they focus on the size of the mountain rather than the next step. The mountain feels overwhelming. The next step feels manageable. Success is built through steps, not wishes, not intentions, not hopes. Steps. One of the greatest lessons in personal development is that progress creates motivation more reliably than motivation creates progress. Most people wait until they feel inspired before taking action. Successful people understand the opposite. They take action first, then motivation follows. When you complete a workout, motivation grows. When you keep a promise, confidence grows. When you make progress, belief grows. Action creates evidence. Evidence creates confidence. Confidence fuels further action. This cycle can begin in as little as 30 days. That is why focused periods of commitment are so valuable. They interrupt old patterns. Many people spend years years trapped inside routines they never consciously chose. Wake up, react, repeat. The days blur together. Nothing changes because nothing changes. But 30 days of intentional effort breaks that cycle. It forces awareness. It demands discipline. It creates opportunities to build new habits and eliminate destructive ones. The remarkable thing is that major life transformations often begin with surprisingly small actions. Waking up earlier, reading 10 pages a day, walking 30 minutes, saving a little money, practicing gratitude, reducing distractions, learning a skill. These actions may seem insignificant when viewed individually, yet repeated daily, they create results that appear extraordinary. People often overestimate what they can accomplish in one day and underestimate what they can accomplish in 30 days. A single day rarely changes your life, but 30 consecutive days of focused action can change your direction. And direction is everything, because your future is determined less by where you are and more by where you are heading. A small shift in direction today can create a dramatically different destination tomorrow. Think about how quickly negative habits can influence a person's life. 30 days of poor decisions can create consequences. 30 days of procrastination can delay progress. 30 days of neglect can weaken momentum. If negative actions can create change so quickly, imagine what positive actions can do. Imagine 30 days of discipline, 30 days of growth, 30 days of learning, 30 days of consistency, 30 days of personal responsibility. The person who emerges at the end of that month may not be completely transformed, but they will not be the same person who started. And that is the point. Transformation is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming better. One day at a time, one choice at a time, one habit at a time. The next 30 days will pass whether you use them intentionally or not. The calendar will continue moving. Time will continue passing. The only question is what you will do with that time. You can spend it repeating old patterns, or you can use it creating new ones. You can spend it wishing for change, or you can spend it building change. Because life can change faster than you think. Not through luck, not through miracles, not through waiting, but through 30 days of focused effort, disciplined action, and a commitment to becoming the person you know you are capable of becoming. And often, that is all it takes to begin a completely different future. One of the greatest myths about personal transformation is the belief that life changes through a single dramatic decision. People often imagine that success arrives in a moment of inspiration. They picture a breakthrough so powerful that everything changes overnight. A new year begins, a motivational speech is heard, a powerful book is read, and suddenly a completely different life emerges. But real transformation rarely works that way. The truth is both simpler and more demanding. Lasting change is built through small daily disciplines repeated consistently over time. The life you desire is not usually created by one extraordinary action. Many people spend years convinced that if they could just earn a little more money, all their financial problems would disappear. They imagine that a promotion, a better job, a business opportunity, or a sudden increase in income will automatically transform their lives. Yet history repeatedly shows that income alone is not the deciding factor in financial success. If it were, every highly paid individual would become wealthy, and every person with a modest income would remain poor. But that is not what we see. What we see is something far more revealing. We see people earning large incomes while living paycheck to paycheck. We see lottery winners who receive millions and later go bankrupt. We see successful athletes, entertainers, and professionals lose fortunes they once possessed. At the same time, we see ordinary individuals with average incomes gradually build financial security, create investments, accumulate assets, and achieve lasting prosperity. Why? Because wealth is built through habits, not income. Income matters, of course. Earning more can create greater opportunities. But income without the right habits is like pouring water into a bucket full of holes. No matter how much enters, it eventually disappears. Habits determine whether money stays, grows, or vanishes. The challenge is that habits rarely produce immediate results. They work quietly. They operate in the background. Day after day, they seem insignificant. But over time, they create enormous differences. Imagine two people earning the exact same amount of money. One develops the habit of saving a portion of every paycheck. The other spends everything that comes in. At first, there appears to be little difference between them. Their lifestyles look similar, their income is identical, their circumstances seem almost the same. But give those habits 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Now the difference becomes impossible to ignore. One person has accumulated resources, investments, opportunities, and financial flexibility. The other continues living under financial pressure. The gap was not created by income. The gap was created by habit. This is one of the most important truths about wealth. Financial success is often the result of ordinary behaviors practiced consistently. Many people search for financial breakthroughs while ignoring financial behaviors. They want dramatic results without developing disciplined routines. They focus on earning more while neglecting the habits that determine what happens after the money arrives. The wealthy understand something powerful. Money tends to flow toward people who have learned how to manage it responsibly. That management begins with small daily choices, the habit of tracking expenses, the habit of living below one's means, the habit of saving before spending, the habit of investing consistently, the habit of learning new skills, the habit of planning for the future. None of these habits are exciting. None create overnight success. None generate headlines. Yet together they form the foundation upon which wealth is built. The problem is that society often celebrates outcomes while ignoring processes. People see the successful investor but overlook the years of disciplined investing. They see the thriving business owner but ignore the countless habits that created that success. They admire financial freedom while remaining unwilling to adopt the behaviors that produce it. Success leaves clues, and one of the biggest clues is consistency. The wealthy often do small things consistently. Others often do big things occasionally. Consistency wins. A person who invests a modest amount every month for years frequently outperforms someone who waits for the perfect opportunity. A person who reads and learns regularly often develops knowledge that leads to greater earning potential. A person who controls spending habits steadily improves their financial position, regardless of economic conditions. The power lies not in intensity, but in repetition. This principle applies to every area of life. Health is built through habits. Relationships are built through habits. Character is built through habits. And wealth is built through habits. The danger is that habits can work in both directions. Positive habits create growth. Negative habits create decline. Just as saving a little money consistently can create wealth, spending carelessly can create financial hardship. Just as learning continuously can increase opportunities, neglecting personal development can limit them. The outcomes are different, but the mechanism is the same. Repeated actions produce repeated results. Many people underestimate how powerful small habits can become because they focus only on immediate outcomes. They save money for a month and see little change. They read a few books and notice no dramatic transformation. They begin budgeting and wonder why life has not instantly improved. But habits are not designed to deliver immediate miracles. They are designed to create long-term change. Think of a tree. For years, much of its growth occurs beneath the surface. Roots develop before visible height appears. To an observer, it may seem as though little is happening. Yet beneath the ground, a foundation is being established. Wealth works the same way. Financial habits create roots. They establish stability. They create resilience. They build strength. Then, over time, visible results begin to emerge. What once seemed small becomes significant. What once seemed insignificant becomes life-changing. This is why patience is so important. Many people abandon good habits because they do not see immediate rewards. They become discouraged and return to old patterns. Meanwhile, those who remain consistent eventually experience the cumulative effect of years of disciplined behavior. The wealthy are often not separated from others by intelligence alone, not by luck alone, not by opportunity alone. They are frequently separated by habits. Habits that guide decisions, habits that influence priorities, habits that determine how resources are managed, habits that shape the future long before the future arrives. Your financial life tomorrow is being created by your habits today, not by your intentions, not by your wishes, not by your hopes, by your habits. Because wealth is not primarily a money issue, it is a behavior issue. And when your daily behaviors begin to align with financial wisdom, responsibility, and long-term thinking, something remarkable happens. Money stops controlling your future, your habits begin building it, and that is where lasting wealth truly begins. One of the most significant differences between those who build wealth and those who continually struggle financially is not how much money they earn. It is how they think about money once they earn it. While many people focus primarily on spending, wealthy individuals tend to focus on building. While many ask, "What can I buy with this money?" Wealth builders ask, how can I make this money grow? This difference may seem small, but it creates dramatically different outcomes over time. The average person often views money as a tool for immediate consumption. A paycheck arrives, and the first thought is usually connected to bills, purchases, entertainment, upgrades, or desires. The money comes in, and shortly afterward, it goes out. There is little thought given to how that money could create future income or generate greater opportunities. As a result, the cycle repeats endlessly. Work, earn, spend, work, earn, spend. Years pass, yet financial progress remains limited because all of the income is directed toward consumption. Wealth builders operate differently. They certainly enjoy life. They buy things. They spend money. They appreciate comfort and convenience. But before they think about spending, they often think about growing. They understand a principle that changes everything. Money can either be spent once or invested repeatedly. When money is spent on a typical expense, its journey usually ends there. The transaction is complete. The value received may provide enjoyment, convenience, or satisfaction, but the money itself no longer works for the owner. An asset is different. An asset has the potential to produce value long after the initial purchase. It can generate income, increase in value, create opportunities, or contribute to future financial growth. This is why wealthy individuals often prioritize acquiring assets before acquiring luxuries. They understand that assets eventually help pay for luxuries. Many people reverse the process. They purchase luxuries first and wonder why wealth never arrives. Imagine two individuals receiving the same financial opportunity. One immediately upgrades their lifestyle. The other purchases something that can generate future returns. Initially, the first person may appear more successful. Their lifestyle may look more impressive. Their purchases may attract more attention. But wealth is rarely determined by appearances. It is determined by what is happening beneath the surface. Years later, the second individual often possesses greater financial freedom because their money was put to work rather than simply spent. This is one of the most important concepts in financial growth. Every dollar has a job. The question is whether that job benefits your future or merely satisfies a temporary desire. Wealth builders constantly think about multiplication, not just earning money, multiplying money. They understand that earning requires effort, but properly managed assets can continue creating value long after the original work has been completed. This mindset transforms financial decisions. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" they often ask, "Will this help me grow?" Instead of asking, "What do I want today?" they ask, "What will help me tomorrow?" That shift requires discipline because human nature naturally seeks immediate gratification. People want rewards now. They want comfort now. They want recognition now. They want enjoyment now. Delayed gratification, however, has long been one of the defining characteristics of financial success. The ability to sacrifice a smaller reward today for a larger reward tomorrow creates extraordinary opportunities over time. Consider how many financial struggles originate from impatience. People purchase things they cannot truly afford. They prioritize appearances over stability. They seek short-term pleasure while neglecting long-term security. Then they wonder why financial stress remains a constant companion. The issue is not always income. Often, it is direction. Money is being directed toward consumption rather than creation. The wealthy understand that every financial decision either builds their future or consumes it. Every dollar becomes a choice between immediate satisfaction and future growth, a choice between appearance and substance, a choice between spending and building. This principle extends beyond traditional investments. Assets are not limited to stocks, businesses, or real estate. Knowledge can be an asset. Skills can be assets. Education can be an asset. Relationships can become valuable assets. Anything that increases your ability to create value in the future can function as an asset. This is why successful people frequently invest in themselves. They understand that the most powerful asset they own is often their ability to learn, adapt, solve problems, and create opportunities. A new skill may not provide immediate rewards. A book may not produce instant results. A course may require effort and patience. But over time, these investments often create opportunities that would never have existed otherwise. Meanwhile, many people spend heavily on things that lose value the moment they acquire them. Again, the difference is not intelligence. It is habit. It is perspective. It is the ability to think beyond the present moment. One of the reasons wealth appears elusive to so many people is because they underestimate the power of small financial decisions. They imagine wealth is created through dramatic events, a lucky break, a huge huge investment, a sudden windfall. While those things occasionally happen, lasting wealth is more commonly built through consistent choices. Choosing assets repeatedly, choosing growth repeatedly, choosing long-term value repeatedly. Year after year, decision after decision, the results eventually become extraordinary. The remarkable thing is that these habits are available to almost everyone. The wealthy do not possess different calendars, different clocks, or different laws of mathematics. They simply approach money differently. They view money as a seed rather than a reward. A seed can be consumed immediately, or it can be planted and multiplied. Consumption provides temporary satisfaction. Planting creates future harvests. And every financial decision places money into one of those two categories. The life you desire financially is often determined by how frequently you choose planting over consuming. Because wealth is rarely created by what you earn alone. It is created by what you repeatedly do with what you earn. The people who understand this principle stop asking how much money they can spend. They begin asking how much value they can build. And that shift, repeated consistently over time, becomes one of the most powerful habits separating financial struggle from lasting wealth. One of the most valuable lessons a person can ever learn is that money is not their most precious resource. Most people spend years focusing on increasing their income, protecting their savings, and improving their financial situation. While those goals are important, there is something even more valuable than money. Something that every wealthy person, every successful leader, every accomplished entrepreneur, and every high achiever eventually comes to understand. That resource is time. Money lost can often be earned again. A business can recover from setbacks. An investment can regain value. A career can be rebuilt. But time is different. Once it is spent, it never returns. No amount of wealth can purchase yesterday. No amount of success can reclaim an hour that has already passed. This is why one of the most significant habits separating the wealthy from the poor is the way they treat time. The difference is not simply that wealthy people work harder. The difference is that they often become far more intentional about how they use their hours. Most people understand the value of money because they can see it. They can count it, they can track it, they can measure gains and losses immediately. Time, however, is more deceptive. It disappears quietly. A few minutes here, an hour there, an afternoon lost, a week wasted, a month gone. And because the losses seem small in the moment, people rarely notice the true cost. Yet when years pass, those small losses become enormous. Imagine two individuals beginning with the exact same 24 hours each day. One treats time casually. They drift through the day reacting to whatever appears. Distractions control their schedule. Entertainment dominates their attention. Important tasks are continually postponed. Learning is delayed. Goals remain unfinished. The other individual approaches time differently. They recognize that every hour represents an opportunity to learn, to improve, to build, to create, to grow. Their day may not look dramatically different at first glance. They still rest. They still enjoy life. They still spend time with family and friends. But they make deliberate decisions about where their time goes. 5 years later, the difference becomes obvious. Not because one person was smarter, not because one had more talent, but because one invested time while the other merely spent it. This distinction is crucial. Most people think of time as something that passes. Successful people often think of time as something that can be invested. When money is invested wisely, it has the potential to produce future returns. The same principle applies to time. An hour spent learning a valuable skill can create opportunities for years. An hour spent improving communication abilities can enhance relationships and careers. An hour spent studying, reading, planning, or developing expertise can generate rewards far beyond the original investment. Time invested compounds. That is one of the secrets many people overlook. Small daily improvements seem insignificant when viewed individually, but repeated consistently, they create extraordinary outcomes. A person who reads for 30 minutes each day may not notice a dramatic change after 1 week. After 1 month, the difference may still seem small, but after several years, they have accumulated hundreds of hours of learning, hundreds of new ideas, hundreds of lessons, hundreds of opportunities for growth. The results become impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, another person may spend those same hours consuming content that provides temporary entertainment but little lasting value. Again, the difference is not intelligence. It is intentionality. It is understanding that time is either creating your future or quietly slipping away. One reason wealthy individuals often become highly protective of their schedules is because they recognize the connection between time and value. They know that every commitment carries a cost. Every distraction carries a cost. Every unnecessary interruption carries a cost. The cost may not be visible immediately, but it exists. A wasted hour may not seem significant today, yet repeated often enough, wasted hours become wasted weeks. Wasted weeks become wasted years, and wasted years become unrealized potential. The truly successful understand that time management is not merely about productivity, it is about life management. Because how you spend your days ultimately determines how you spend your life. This is why priorities matter. Many people claim certain goals are important to them. They want better health, greater financial security, new skills, personal growth, stronger relationships. But their calendars tell a different story. Their time reveals their true priorities. What you repeatedly give your time to eventually shapes who you become. That reality can be uncomfortable, but it is also empowering because it means the future is not entirely beyond your control. Every day presents opportunities to redirect your time toward things that matter. Every hour offers a chance to invest rather than simply consume. Every moment provides a choice between growth and stagnation. The wealthy understand that extraordinary outcomes rarely appear overnight. They are built through the consistent investment of time. A business is built hour by hour. Knowledge is built page by page. Wealth is built decision by decision. Character is built choice by choice. Everything valuable requires time. That is why successful individuals often ask a different question than everyone else. Instead of asking, "How can I fill my time?" they ask, "How can I use my time wisely?" Instead of asking, "What do I feel like doing?" they ask, "What creates the greatest long-term value?" This shift changes everything. Because once you begin viewing time as your most valuable asset, your decisions become more intentional. You become more selective about distractions, more aware of opportunities, more focused on growth, more committed to activities that move your life forward. The truth is simple. Everyone receives the same 24 hours. The wealthy do not get extra days. The successful do not receive additional weeks. The difference lies in how those hours are used. Some people spend time, others invest it. Some allow time to disappear, others direct it with purpose. And over months, years, and decades, that difference creates dramatically different lives. Because wealth is not merely the result of money managed wisely. It is often the result of time managed wisely first. And when you learn to treat every hour as a valuable investment rather than an unlimited resource, you begin building not only greater wealth, but a greater life. One of the greatest illusions in life is the belief that success or failure is created by a single moment. Many people imagine that wealth is built through one brilliant investment, one lucky opportunity, one major breakthrough, or one dramatic decision. While those moments can certainly influence a person's journey, they are rarely the true source of lasting success. The reality is far less glamorous, yet far more powerful. Financial destinies are often created through small decisions made consistently over long periods of time. The difference between prosperity and struggle is usually hidden in ordinary choices. Choices so small that most people overlook them. Choices that seem insignificant on a single day, but become life-changing over the course of years. A person decides whether to save or spend, whether to learn or procrastinate, whether to invest or consume, whether to plan or react, whether to improve or remain comfortable. These decisions may appear minor in the moment. They rarely create immediate consequences. They rarely attract attention. They rarely feel important. Yet they quietly accumulate, and over time they begin shaping a person's future. Think about a ship crossing an ocean. If the captain adjusts the course by just a few degrees, the change may seem almost invisible at the beginning of the journey. For miles, everything appears nearly identical. But as time passes, that small adjustment leads to an entirely different destination. Life works much the same way. Small decisions are often like tiny course corrections. One choice may not seem important. One habit may not seem significant. One action may not appear life-changing. But repeated over months and years, those choices determine where you ultimately arrive. This is why financial success is rarely about perfection. It is about direction. Many people become discouraged because they focus exclusively on large results. They want dramatic changes. They want instant transformations. They want immediate evidence that their efforts are working. But wealth does not usually grow that way. Financial progress often begins invisibly. A few dollars saved, a book read, a skill learned, a habit improved, a distraction avoided, a wiser decision made. Individually, these actions seem almost meaningless. Collectively, they become powerful. The challenge is that human nature tends to underestimate the power of consistency. People often believe that extraordinary outcomes require extraordinary actions. Yet history repeatedly shows that extraordinary outcomes are frequently the result of ordinary actions performed consistently. A person who saves a small amount every month may not notice much difference after 30 days. After 1 year, progress may still appear modest. But after a decade of disciplined behavior, the results become substantial. The same principle applies to learning. Reading a few pages today may not change your life. Studying for 1 hour may not make you an expert. Practicing a skill once may not produce mastery. But repeated consistently, these actions create capabilities that eventually transform opportunities, income, confidence, and results. Small decisions possess a hidden power because they shape habits, and habits shape identity. The individual who consistently saves money begins to see themselves as financially responsible. The individual who consistently learns begins to see themselves as a lifelong student. The individual who consistently invests begins to think like an investor. Over time, these identities influence future decisions. What begins as a small action eventually becomes a way of life. Unfortunately, the same principle works in reverse. Just as positive habits create prosperity, negative habits create struggle. A small, unnecessary expense seems harmless. A little procrastination seems harmless. A little carelessness seems harmless. A little waste seems harmless. But repeated often enough, these habits produce consequences that become impossible to ignore. The danger is that negative decisions frequently provide immediate rewards. Spending money feels good now. Avoiding effort feels good now. Postponing responsibility feels good now. The consequences arrive later. Positive decisions often work the opposite way. Saving money may feel restrictive now. Learning may require effort now. Investing may require sacrifice now. The rewards arrive later. This difference explains why many people struggle to build wealth. They become trapped by immediate gratification. They focus on today's comfort while sacrificing tomorrow's opportunities. Meanwhile, financially successful individuals develop the ability to think beyond the present moment. They understand that today's decisions are creating tomorrow's reality. They ask themselves questions that many people never consider. Will this choice help my future? Is this moving me forward or backward? Am I building something or merely consuming something? These questions create awareness. Awareness creates better decisions. Better decisions create better habits, and better habits create better outcomes. One of the most encouraging truths about financial success is that you do not need to transform your life overnight. You do not need perfect knowledge. You do not need extraordinary talent. You do not need ideal circumstances. What you need is consistency. A commitment to making slightly better decisions repeatedly. The person who improves by 1% each day eventually experiences remarkable change. Not because any single improvement was dramatic, but because small improvements compound. Compounding is one of the most powerful forces in the world. Most people understand compounding when it comes to money. Few understand how powerfully it applies to behavior. Every wise decision compounds. Every lesson compounds. Every habit compounds. Every act of discipline compounds. The effects may be invisible at first, but they never disappear. They accumulate beneath the surface until one day the results become obvious. People often look at successful individuals and assume they were fortunate. What they fail to see are the thousands of small decisions that created that success. The early mornings, the disciplined spending, the consistent learning, the careful planning, the responsible choices, the willingness to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term gain. Success rarely arrives by accident. It is usually built one decision at a time. That is why small decisions deserve your attention, because your future is being shaped right now. Not by one dramatic event, not by one lucky break, not by one extraordinary opportunity, but by the ordinary choices you make every day. The choices nobody notices, the choices that seem insignificant, the choices that quietly accumulate. Those choices are writing your financial story. And years from now, your life will reflect the direction of those daily decisions. Choose wisely, because little decisions create big destinies. And the smallest habits often determine the largest outcomes. If this message is opening your eyes, subscribe right now and refuse to let another year slip away unchanged. Because one day, you'll either be grateful you started learning today or heartbroken that you kept delaying the life you deserved. But the truth is that every time you hit snooze, you are doing something far more important than delaying your alarm. You are casting a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Every day, your life is shaped by countless small decisions, not the dramatic decisions that make headlines, not the once-in-a-lifetime opportunities that everyone notices. The real direction of your life is determined by ordinary moments repeated consistently. It is determined by what you do when no one is watching. It is determined by how you respond when comfort and commitment collide. The alarm clock is one of those moments. When it rings, a question is placed before you. Will you honor the future you talked about yesterday, or will you surrender to the comfort of the present moment? Most people believe success is built through massive actions. They imagine that one breakthrough, one opportunity, one lucky break will change everything. But lasting success is rarely created that way. It is built through small acts of discipline, repeated day after day. It is built through decisions that seem insignificant in the moment, but become powerful through consistency. That is why the snooze button matters. Not because 5 extra minutes will ruin your life, but because of what those 5 minutes represent. When the alarm rings, you have already made a commitment. The night before, you decided what time you would wake up. You established an intention. You created a plan. You made a promise to yourself. Then, morning arrives. The alarm sounds, and suddenly that promise is tested. At that moment, your character is not shaped by what you intended to do. It is shaped by what you actually do. Many people lose this battle before their day even begins. They negotiate, they rationalize, they bargain with themselves. Just a few more minutes. I'll start tomorrow. I need a little more rest. It won't make a difference. But every time this happens, something subtle occurs beneath the surface. You teach yourself that your commitments are flexible. You train your mind to believe that your goals can wait. You reinforce the habit of choosing immediate comfort over long-term growth. And habits, once repeated often enough, become identity. The danger is not the extra sleep. The danger is the message you repeatedly send yourself. Every action is a vote. When you wake up immediately, you cast a vote for discipline. When you honor your commitment, you cast a vote for reliability. When you choose action over comfort, you cast a vote for personal growth. But when you repeatedly delay action, you cast a vote for procrastination. When you repeatedly ignore commitments, you cast a vote for inconsistency. When you repeatedly choose comfort over responsibility, you cast a vote for remaining exactly where you are. Your future is built through accumulated votes. No single vote determines the outcome, but repeated votes eventually decide who you become. Imagine someone who wants to become physically fit. They do not become fit through one workout. They become fit through hundreds of workouts. Each session is a vote for health. Imagine someone who wants financial freedom. They do not achieve it through one wise decision. They achieve it through countless responsible choices. Each choice is a vote for financial discipline. The same principle applies to your mornings. Each time you rise when you said you would, you strengthen the identity of someone who follows through, and that identity becomes powerful. Because success is often less about goals and more about identity. People do not consistently perform at the level of their desires. They consistently perform at the level of their habits. And habits are shaped by repeated actions. The alarm clock may seem unrelated to your dreams, but in reality, it is connected to all of them. The discipline required to get out of bed when you don't feel like it is the same discipline required to work when motivation disappears. It is the same discipline required to save money when spending is tempting. It is the same discipline required to exercise when excuses appear. Discipline is not something you turn on for important moments. It is something you practice in ordinary moments. That is why mornings matter. The first decision of the day often sets the tone for everything that follows. When you begin with discipline, you create momentum. When you begin with action, you reinforce confidence. When you begin by honoring your commitments, you strengthen trust in yourself. And trust in yourself is one of the most valuable assets you can ever possess. Because confidence does not come from positive thinking alone. Confidence comes from evidence. It comes from repeatedly proving to yourself that you can be counted on, that you will do what you said you would do. that your word matters, even when no one else is watching. Every morning offers an opportunity to build that trust. Every alarm offers a chance to strengthen your character. Every decision to get up immediately becomes a declaration that your future matters more than temporary comfort. The life you desire is not created in grand moments of inspiration. It is created through daily acts of discipline. And every time you resist the urge to hit snooze, you are doing far more than getting out of bed. You are casting a vote for the person you want to become. A vote for growth. A vote for responsibility. A vote for excellence. A vote for a future greater than your present. And when those votes accumulate day after day, week after week, year after year, they create something extraordinary. They create a life that reflects not what you wished for, but what you consistently chose. That is why the snooze button matters. Because every morning, whether you realize it or not, you are voting on your future. There is a trade that millions of people make every morning without realizing its true cost. It seems harmless. It feels reasonable. In fact, it often feels deserved. The trade is simple: a few extra minutes of comfort in exchange for a few less minutes of effort. The problem is that while the comfort is immediate, the cost is delayed. And because the cost is delayed, most people never connect the two. They do not realize that comfort in the morning often becomes regret at night. When the alarm sounds, the day presents its first challenge. It is not a major challenge. It is not a crisis. It is not a life-altering event. It is simply an invitation to begin. Yet in that small moment, a powerful decision is made. Do you move toward your goals, or do you move toward comfort? For many people, comfort wins. The bed feels warm. The room feels quiet. The responsibilities of the day feel distant. The promise of just 5 more minutes feels harmless. And so, they stay. What they fail to recognize is that comfort has a way of expanding. It rarely remains confined to 5 minutes. It becomes 10, then 15, then 20. Suddenly, the peaceful morning they intended to have becomes rushed and chaotic. The workout is skipped. The reading session disappears. The morning planning routine is abandoned. The healthy breakfast is replaced by convenience. The day begins with stress rather than intention. And all of it started with a single choice, a choice that seemed insignificant at the time. This is one of the greatest misconceptions about success and failure. People often believe that their lives are shaped by major events. While major events matter, much of life is determined by repeated small decisions. The little choices become habits. Habits become routines. Routines become lifestyles. And lifestyles create outcomes. The extra comfort you choose in the morning may not seem important today, but repeated over weeks, months, and years, it shapes your future in profound ways. Every achievement requires time. Every dream requires effort. Every goal requires consistent action. The challenge is that comfort asks for none of those things. Comfort says, stay where you are. Growth says, move. Comfort says, take it easy. Growth says, take responsibility. Comfort says, you can start later. Growth says, start now. And every morning, those two voices compete for control. The reason comfort is so dangerous is because it feels good in the moment. There is immediate gratification. There is immediate relief. There is immediate pleasure. But growth often feels uncomfortable in the moment while producing rewards later. This is why successful people learn a lesson that many never understand. They stop making decisions based on what feels best now and start making decisions based on what serves them best later. That shift changes everything. Consider how regret works. Regret rarely arrives immediately. No one hits the snooze button and instantly feels deep disappointment. The regret comes later. It comes when the day feels rushed. It comes when important tasks remain unfinished. It comes when another opportunity is missed. It comes when goals continue to remain distant. It comes when promises made to yourself remain unfulfilled. At night, many people lie in bed wishing they had done more with the day, wishing they had exercised, wishing they had worked harder, wishing they had made progress, wishing they had stayed committed. What is fascinating is that the same comfort they chose in the morning often becomes the frustration they experience at night. This pattern repeats endlessly for many individuals. Short-term comfort creates long-term disappointment. Temporary ease creates lasting stagnation. Immediate pleasure delays meaningful progress. The best version of yourself is rarely found in the easiest choice. It is usually found in the necessary choice. The choice that requires effort, the choice that demands discipline, the choice that asks you to move despite not feeling ready. The reality is that your feelings cannot always be trusted when it comes to growth. If people only acted when they felt like it, very little would ever be accomplished. Great achievements are often the result of action taken in moments when comfort suggested doing nothing. The writer writes, "When inspiration is absent, the athlete trains when motivation fades. The entrepreneur works when success is uncertain. The disciplined individual rises when every part of them wants to remain in bed." Why? Because they understand that feelings are temporary, but consequences can be lasting. The discomfort of getting up early lasts a few minutes. The benefits can last a lifetime. The discomfort of discipline is temporary. The rewards of discipline accumulate. Comfort, on the other hand, often reverses that equation. The pleasure is immediate. The cost appears later. And by the time the cost arrives, the opportunity has already passed. One of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself each morning is simple. What will I wish I had done tonight? Not what feels easiest right now. Not what feels most comfortable. Not what requires the least effort. What will your future self thank you for? Because your future self is created by the decisions you make today. The person you become tomorrow is shaped by what you choose this morning. Every alarm clock presents a crossroads. One path leads toward immediate comfort. The other leads toward future growth. One path offers temporary ease. The other offers lasting progress. One path feels rewarding now. The other becomes rewarding later. The challenge is that life rarely announces the consequences of small decisions. It simply allows them to accumulate. That is why discipline matters. That is why consistency matters. That is why mornings matter. Because every time you choose purpose over comfort, you strengthen the habits that build success. Every time you rise when you promised you would, you invest in your future. Every time you reject temporary ease for meaningful action, you move closer to the life you desire. And when night finally comes, you experience something far more satisfying than comfort. You experience pride. The pride of knowing you honored your commitments. The pride of knowing you moved forward. The pride of knowing you chose growth over excuses. Because while comfort in the morning may feel good for a moment, nothing feels better at the end of the day than knowing you gave your best effort to the life you are trying to build. Every day begins with a battle. It is not fought in a boardroom, a classroom, a gym, or a workplace. It happens in a quiet room, often before sunrise, when the alarm clock sounds and a decision must be made. Most people think this moment is about waking up. In reality, it is about something much bigger. It is about leadership. It is about discipline. It is about whether you will command your day or allow your feelings to command you. The decision to rise immediately when the alarm rings may seem insignificant, but it carries tremendous power. Why? Because it is the first victory of the day, and victories, even small ones, have a way of creating momentum. The quality of your life is often determined by the quality of your habits. Habits, in turn, are built through repeated decisions. Every morning presents one of the earliest and most important decisions you will make. Will you do what you plan to do, or will you do what you feel like doing? That question extends far beyond the bedroom. It influences your finances, your health, your relationships, your career, your personal growth, your future. People who consistently succeed understand something many never learn. Success is not primarily about talent. It is not primarily about intelligence. It is not even primarily about opportunity. More often than not, success is about the ability to consistently do what needs to be done, regardless of mood or circumstances. That ability begins with self-discipline, and the morning alarm provides a daily opportunity to strengthen it. When you decide to get up immediately, you send a message to yourself. The message is simple but powerful. My commitments matter. You prove that your intentions are stronger than your excuses. You prove that your goals are stronger than your temporary discomfort. You prove that your future is more important than your immediate desires. That proof matters because confidence is built through evidence. Many people spend years trying to feel more confident. They read books, watch motivational videos, and repeat positive affirmations. While those things can be valuable, confidence grows strongest when it is supported by by action. You trust yourself when you consistently follow through. You believe in yourself when you repeatedly keep your word. You develop confidence when your actions align with your intentions. Every morning, you get up when you said you would. You strengthen that trust. Every morning, you resist the temptation to delay. You reinforce the identity of someone who follows through. And identity is everything. The most successful people do not merely perform disciplined actions. They begin to see themselves as disciplined individuals. There is a difference. Someone who occasionally exercises has a habit. Someone who sees themselves as a healthy person has an identity. Someone who occasionally works hard has a habit. Someone who sees themselves as a disciplined individual has an identity. Identity drives behavior. The alarm clock becomes one of the first opportunities each day to reinforce that identity. When you rise immediately, you are not simply getting out of bed. You are casting a vote for the kind of person you want to become. A vote for discipline, a vote for reliability, a vote for excellence, a vote for self-respect. Many people underestimate the importance of these small victories because they are looking for dramatic breakthroughs. They want major transformations. They want instant success. They want visible results. But extraordinary lives are rarely built through dramatic moments alone. They are built through countless small victories accumulated over time. The person who consistently wins the first battle of the day develops something powerful: momentum. Momentum changes everything. A disciplined morning often leads to a productive day. A productive day often leads to meaningful progress. Meaningful progress creates motivation. Motivation encourages further action. The cycle continues. Unfortunately, the opposite is also true. When people begin their day by delaying action, they often create a different kind of momentum. The snooze button becomes procrastination. Procrastination becomes stress. Stress becomes frustration. Frustration becomes discouragement. The cycle repeats. That is why the first decision matters so much. It establishes a pattern. It sets a tone. It influences the mindset you carry into the rest of your day. Think about the people you admire most, whether they are leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs, creators, or high achievers in any field. One characteristic often appears repeatedly. They have learned how to act despite discomfort. They do not wait until they feel like doing something. They do it because it needs to be done. That is discipline. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is not suffering. Discipline is self-leadership. It is the ability to direct your actions according to your values rather than your emotions. And there is no better place to practice self-leadership than in the first moments of the morning. Because if you cannot lead yourself out of bed, it becomes much harder to lead yourself through the challenges that follow. Life constantly presents opportunities to choose between what is easy and what is necessary. The easy choice often provides immediate comfort. The necessary choice often provides future rewards. Every morning, the alarm clock asks which type of person you will be. Will you be someone who follows feelings or someone who follows purpose? Will you be someone who negotiates with every challenge or someone who acts with conviction? Will you be someone who delays action or someone who creates momentum? These questions may seem small when viewed through the lens of a single morning, but repeated over months and years, they become life-changing. Because greatness is rarely the result of one extraordinary decision. It is usually the result of ordinary decisions made extraordinarily well. The choice to rise immediately may not seem remarkable. No one applauds it, no one celebrates it, no one may even notice it, but you notice. Your mind notices, your character notices, and your future notices. Every time you get up when you promised you would, you strengthen the muscles of discipline. You build confidence through action. You reinforce self-respect. You create momentum that carries into the rest of your day. And slowly, almost invisibly, those small victories begin shaping a stronger version of yourself. A person who follows through, a person who keeps commitments, a person who leads rather than reacts. A person who understands that winning the first battle of the day is never just about getting out of bed. It is about becoming someone capable of winning the larger battles that life will inevitably bring. One of the greatest misunderstandings about success is the belief that it is built in public. People see the finished product. They see the achievements, the recognition, the accomplishments, and the rewards. They see the athlete standing on the podium, the entrepreneur celebrating a milestone, the leader commanding a room, or the individual living a life that others admire. What they rarely see are the thousands of private decisions that made those outcomes possible. Success is visible, character is invisible, and character always comes first. The truth is that your future is built in moments nobody sees. Not when the cameras are on, not when the audience is watching, not when praise is being handed out. Your future is built in the quiet moments when there is no applause, no recognition, and no immediate reward. It is built when you choose discipline over convenience, responsibility over excuses, and purpose over comfort. That is why the morning alarm matters so much. When the alarm rings, there is usually no audience. No one is standing beside your bed keeping score. No one is handing out trophies for getting up on time. No one is offering praise for resisting the snooze button. The decision belongs entirely to you. And because nobody else sees it, that decision becomes a powerful reflection of your character. Character is what you do when no one is watching. It is the ability to maintain standards without external pressure. It is the willingness to do the right thing even when there is no reward attached to it. It is choosing discipline because of who you want to become, not because someone is forcing you to do it. Many people live their lives motivated primarily by external accountability. They work hard when someone is watching. They perform well when expectations are visible. They stay committed when rewards are immediate. But true growth begins when accountability becomes internal, when your standards no longer depend on supervision, when your actions are guided by principles rather than convenience, when your commitments matter even in complete privacy. The morning alarm provides one of the clearest examples of this principle. When that alarm sounds, there is no crowd to impress. There is only a choice. You can stay where you are, or you can rise. And that choice reveals something important about the direction of your life, because every private decision is preparing you for a public outcome. People often admire confidence without realizing where confidence comes from. They see someone speaking boldly, leading effectively, or pursuing ambitious goals, and assume confidence appeared naturally. In reality, confidence is often built through countless private victories. It is built through promises kept, commitments honored, habits maintained, challenges faced, excuses rejected. These victories are rarely visible to others, but they accumulate, and over time, they create a person who trusts themselves, a person who believes in their ability to follow through, a person who has repeatedly proven that their actions align with their intentions. This kind of confidence cannot be faked. It is earned, one private decision at a time. The same principle applies to every area of life. A healthy body is built through workouts nobody applauds. Financial stability is built through disciplined choices nobody notices. Knowledge is built through hours of study nobody celebrates. Strong character is built through ethical decisions nobody witnesses. The world sees the result, but the result is merely the visible expression of countless invisible choices. That is why small moments matter so much. The problem is that most people underestimate them. They believe major achievements require major actions. While major actions certainly play a role, extraordinary lives are usually built upon ordinary disciplines practiced consistently. The alarm clock is not significant because it wakes you up. It is significant because it presents a daily opportunity to practice becoming the person you wish to be. Every morning, you choose action over delay. You strengthen your character. Every morning, you honor your commitment. You reinforce integrity. Every morning, you rise despite discomfort. You develop resilience. And these qualities extend far beyond the bedroom. They influence how you approach your work, how you handle adversity, how you pursue goals, how you respond to challenges, how you lead your life. Character is not developed during moments of ease. It is developed during moments of choice, especially when the easy option is available. Anyone can stay committed when circumstances are perfect. Anyone can work hard when motivation is overflowing. Anyone can remain focused when progress comes quickly. But character emerges when none of those conditions exist. It emerges when you act anyway, when you choose discipline despite discomfort, when you choose consistency despite inconvenience, when you choose responsibility despite temptation. Those choices may appear small, but they are shaping your identity, and identity shapes destiny. The person who repeatedly chooses discipline becomes disciplined. The person who repeatedly chooses excellence becomes excellent. The person who repeatedly chooses growth becomes capable of extraordinary growth. Not because of one dramatic moment, but because of hundreds of quiet moments. Moments nobody sees, moments nobody applauds, moments nobody remembers except the person making the decision. The remarkable thing about life is that private choices eventually become public realities. The discipline nobody sees becomes the achievement everyone notices. The preparation nobody sees becomes the performance everyone admires. The sacrifice nobody sees becomes the success everyone talks about. By the time the world notices the result, the real work has already been done. It happened early in the morning, late at night, during ordinary days, in private moments. The future you desire is being built right now through choices that may seem insignificant. The alarm clock, the extra effort, the decision to follow through, the refusal to settle, the commitment to grow. These moments are not interruptions to your journey. They are your journey. Because success is not created when the spotlight appears. Success is created long before that. It is created when no one is watching. It is created when your standards remain high, even in private. It is created when you understand that every unseen decision is laying a brick in the foundation of your future. And when enough of those bricks are laid, something extraordinary happens. The life you once imagined begins to take shape, not because of luck, not because of chance, but because you mastered the moments nobody saw. And those moments quietly transformed you into the person capable of achieving the future you were meant to create. If this message is speaking directly to your heart, subscribe now and make a commitment to the future you're fighting for. Because one day, you'll remember the moment you decided to change, or the moment you scrolled away and stayed the same. It is a fear so powerful that it has stopped more dreams than lack of talent, lack of education, lack of money, or lack of opportunity ever could. It operates quietly, often hiding beneath hesitation, procrastination, overthinking, and self-doubt. Many people do not even realize that fear is controlling their decisions because it rarely announces itself directly. Instead, it whispers reasons to wait. It encourages caution disguised as wisdom. It convinces people to stay where they are because what is familiar feels safer than what is possible. The tragedy of fear is not that it makes people fail. The tragedy is that it prevents people from trying. Think about how many opportunities never become realities because someone was afraid of what might happen if things did not work out. A person wants to start a business but fears losing money. Someone dreams of writing a book but fears criticism. Another wants to pursue a new career but fears rejection. Someone wants to speak up, lead, create, build, or change their life, but fear convinces them that the risk is too great. What they often fail to realize is that there is another risk, one that is rarely discussed. It is the risk of staying exactly where they are. It is the risk of reaching the end of a year, 5 years, or even a lifetime, and wondering what could have happened if they had simply been willing to try. Fear has a remarkable ability to make imagined pain feel more significant than actual opportunity. The mind begins creating scenarios that may never happen. It focuses on embarrassment, rejection, mistakes, and setbacks. It paints vivid pictures of failure while completely ignoring the possibilities of growth, success, learning, and achievement. As a result, many people spend their lives preparing to live instead of actually living. They wait for certainty. They wait for confidence. They wait for guarantees. But life rarely offers guarantees. The truth is that confidence is not something that arrives before action. Confidence is often the result of action. People become confident because they take steps despite uncertainty. They discover strengths they never knew they possessed. They learn skills they did not have. They develop resilience through experience. No one begins as an expert. No one begins with complete certainty. Every accomplished person was once inexperienced. Every successful leader was once unknown. Every skilled professional was once a beginner. Every great achievement started with someone taking a step before they felt fully prepared. Yet fear convinces people that they must feel ready before they begin. This belief becomes a trap, because if you wait until all fear disappears, you may wait forever. The individuals who accomplish extraordinary things are not necessarily fearless. In many cases, they experience the same doubts, concerns, and anxieties as everyone else. The difference is that they refuse to allow fear to make their decisions for them. They understand an important truth. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is often part of success. Every lesson learned, every improvement made, every breakthrough achieved usually comes after mistakes, setbacks, and disappointments. Failure provides information. It reveals weaknesses that need strengthening. It exposes assumptions that need correction. It teaches lessons that success alone could never teach. Imagine a child learning to walk. No parent expects perfection on the first attempt. Falling is considered part of the process. Yet as adults, many people hold themselves to an impossible standard. They expect immediate success and interpret any setback as evidence that they should stop. But growth has never worked that way. The strongest people are not those who never fall. They are those who continue getting back up. Failure does not define a person. Quitting does. Every setback carries two possible outcomes. It can become a reason to stop, or it can become a lesson that prepares you for the next attempt. The choice belongs to you. Consider how many remarkable accomplishments would never have existed if people had allowed fear to control them. Innovations, businesses, books, inventions, careers, movements, and life-changing ideas all began with individuals who were willing to face uncertainty. They did not possess perfect assurance. They possessed enough courage to move forward despite their fears. Courage is often misunderstood. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. It is making the phone call when rejection is possible. It is pursuing the goal when success is uncertain. It is stepping into the unknown when the outcome cannot be guaranteed. It is choosing growth over comfort. The best version of yourself exists beyond the boundaries of what feels safe and familiar. Every meaningful transformation requires leaving something behind. Old habits, old beliefs, old limitations, and sometimes the illusion of certainty. The question is not whether you will experience failure. At some point, everyone does. The real question is whether you will allow the possibility of failure to prevent the possibility of greatness. Years from now, the mistakes you made will likely matter far less than the opportunities you never pursued. The temporary discomfort of failure fades. The lessons remain. The growth remains. The wisdom remains. But regret has a way of lingering. Do not allow fear to convince you that staying still is safer than moving forward. The greatest rewards in life often belong to those who are willing to risk imperfection in pursuit of progress. Take the step, make the attempt, embrace the lesson, because the life you want may be waiting on the other side of the fear you refuse to face. And the moment you stop seeing failure as an enemy and start seeing it as a teacher, you begin unlocking the potential that has been inside you all along. There is a silent danger that keeps millions of people from becoming the best version of themselves. It does not look threatening. It does not create immediate pain. In fact, it often feels pleasant, relaxing, and completely harmless. Yet year after year, it quietly steals dreams, limits potential, and prevents growth. That danger is comfort addiction. Comfort is one of the most attractive forces in life because it asks nothing from you. It encourages you to stay where you are, do what you have always done, and avoid anything that feels difficult, uncertain, or challenging. It promises safety. It promises convenience. It promises relief from effort. But what it never tells you is the price you will eventually pay. The price of constant comfort is unrealized potential. Every person has a comfort zone. It is the place where routines are familiar, risks are minimal, and expectations are predictable. Within this space, life feels manageable. There are fewer surprises and fewer opportunities for disappointment. The problem is that growth does not happen there. Think about every major achievement in your life. Every skill you developed, every lesson you learned, every obstacle you overcame required some level of discomfort. You had to struggle, adapt, learn, and persist. Growth demanded effort. Progress required challenge. Transformation asked you to become someone different from who you were before. The strongest muscles are built through resistance. The sharpest minds are developed through learning. The greatest character is formed through adversity. Nothing truly valuable grows in complete comfort. Yet many people unknowingly organize their lives around avoiding discomfort. They avoid difficult conversations because they are uncomfortable. They postpone important decisions because uncertainty makes them nervous. They stay in jobs they dislike because change feels risky. They remain trapped in limiting routines because familiarity feels safer than possibility. At first, these choices seem harmless. A small delay here, a postponed opportunity there, a challenge avoided, a risk ignored. But over time, these small decisions accumulate. Days become months, months become years, and eventually people wake up wondering why their lives have not changed. The answer is often simple. They have chosen comfort repeatedly while expecting growth simultaneously. Unfortunately, those two things rarely coexist. The comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. The moment you understand this truth, your perspective begins to change. You stop viewing discomfort as a sign that something is wrong. Instead, you start recognizing it as evidence that something important is happening. When you begin exercising after years of inactivity, it feels uncomfortable. When you start learning a new skill, it feels uncomfortable. When you pursue a bigger goal, it feels uncomfortable. When you challenge old habits, it feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is not your enemy. It is often proof that you are expanding beyond your current limitations. The problem is that modern life offers endless opportunities to avoid discomfort. Entertainment is available instantly. Distractions are everywhere. Convenience is celebrated. We can spend entire days consuming instead of creating, watching instead of doing, wishing instead of acting. The result is that many people become experts at staying comfortable while remaining strangers to their potential. The best version of yourself cannot emerge through convenience alone. It is revealed through challenge. Consider the people who inspire you most, whether they are leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, or individuals who overcame extraordinary hardships. Their stories almost always include periods of struggle. They faced obstacles. They encountered setbacks. They experienced moments when quitting would have been easier than continuing. What made them different was not that they enjoyed discomfort. It was that they understood its value. They recognized that temporary discomfort often leads to long-term reward. Meanwhile, temporary comfort often leads to long-term regret. This principle applies to every area of life. The discomfort of saving money creates future financial freedom. The discomfort of studying creates future knowledge. The discomfort of disciplined exercise creates future strength. The discomfort of honesty creates stronger relationships. The discomfort of persistence creates future achievement. The rewards people admire are usually connected to sacrifices they never see. What appears to be overnight success is often the result of years spent doing difficult things consistently. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that successful individuals possess extraordinary motivation. In reality, many successful people simply developed a higher tolerance for discomfort. They learned how to continue working when they did not feel like it. They learned how to keep moving when circumstances became difficult. They learned how to embrace challenge rather than run from it. That ability changes everything. Because life will always present obstacles. There will always be reasons to stop. There will always be moments when comfort seems more appealing than effort. The question is not whether those moments will come. The question is how you will respond when they do. Every day presents a choice between comfort and growth. You can choose the familiar path that requires little effort, or you can choose the path that stretches your abilities and expands your future. One path feels easier today. The other creates a better tomorrow. The individuals who achieve extraordinary results are often those who make peace with temporary discomfort. They stop treating challenge as punishment and start treating it as preparation. They understand that every difficult season is developing strength, resilience, wisdom, and character. Your future is shaped by what you repeatedly choose. If you consistently choose comfort over growth, your life will remain largely unchanged. If you consistently choose growth over comfort, transformation becomes inevitable. The life you desire is not hiding inside your comfort zone. The confidence you seek is not found in avoiding challenges. The strength you want is not developed through ease. They all exist beyond the boundaries of what feels safe. And the moment you stop asking, how can I stay comfortable? And start asking, how can I grow? You begin moving toward the person you were truly meant to become. That is where progress lives. That is where transformation begins. And that is where the best version of you is waiting. One of the most powerful forces shaping your life is something that no one else can fully hear. It is not the conversations you have with your friends. It is not the speeches you listen to. It is not the advice you receive from others. It is the conversation taking place inside your own mind every single day. The words you repeatedly say to yourself have an extraordinary impact on your confidence, your decisions, your actions, and ultimately your future. That is why negative self-talk remains one of the greatest obstacles preventing people from becoming the best version of themselves. Many people underestimate the power of their inner voice because it becomes so familiar. They hear it every day and eventually stop questioning it. They begin accepting every thought as truth, even when those thoughts are inaccurate, destructive, or completely false. A person experiences a setback and immediately thinks, I'm not good enough. Someone makes a mistake and tells themselves, I always mess things up. Another person faces a challenge and thinks, I'll never be able to do this. Over time, these statements stop sounding like opinions. They start sounding like facts. That is where the danger begins. The mind is incredibly powerful. It responds to repetition. Whatever you consistently tell yourself begins to influence what you believe. What you believe influences how you act. How you act determines the results you create. In many cases, people are not defeated by external circumstances. They are defeated by internal messages they have repeated for years. Imagine planting a seed in the ground every day. Eventually, that seed will grow. The same principle applies to your thoughts. If you continually plant seeds of doubt, fear, insecurity, and limitation, those beliefs begin to take root in your mind. They influence your decisions without you even realizing it. When someone believes they are incapable, they hesitate. When they hesitate, they take fewer chances. When they take fewer chances, they miss opportunities. When opportunities are missed, results suffer. Then those poor results seem to confirm the negative belief they held in the first place. A cycle is created. The tragedy is that many people spend years trapped in this cycle without recognizing that their own thinking has become one of the biggest barriers to their success. Your mind can be your greatest ally or your greatest obstacle. The difference depends largely on the messages you allow to dominate your thinking. This does not mean pretending problems do not exist. It does not mean ignoring reality or living in fantasy. Positive thinking is not about denying challenges. It is about refusing to allow challenges to define your identity. There is a significant difference between saying, "I failed at this task," and saying, "I am a failure." One describes an event. The other creates an identity. Successful people understand this distinction. They separate temporary outcomes from permanent self-worth. They understand that mistakes are experiences, not definitions. Setbacks are situations, not identities. Unfortunately, many people attach every disappointment directly to their sense of self. They allow one failure to convince them they are incapable. They allow one rejection to convince them they are unworthy. They allow one obstacle to convince them they should stop trying. The inner voice becomes a critic rather than a coach. And when your own mind constantly works against you, every challenge becomes more difficult. Consider how differently life would feel if you spoke to yourself the way you would encourage someone you care about. If a friend faced a setback, you would likely remind them of their strengths. You would encourage them to keep going. You would point out that one mistake does not determine their future. Yet many people offer themselves none of that grace. They become their own harshest critics. They say things to themselves that they would never say to another person. The result is emotional exhaustion, reduced confidence, and diminished belief in what is possible. The best version of yourself cannot emerge from a mind that constantly tears itself down. Growth requires belief. Achievement requires belief. Persistence requires belief. Not perfect belief, but enough belief to keep moving forward when circumstances become difficult. Every great accomplishment begins with the willingness to believe that improvement is possible. The words you repeat internally either strengthen that belief or weaken it. This is why awareness is so important. You must become conscious of the conversations happening within your mind. Pay attention to the language you use when things go wrong. Notice the assumptions you make about yourself. Listen carefully to the stories you tell yourself about your abilities, your future, and your potential. Many of those stories were formed years ago. Some came from past failures. Some came from criticism. Some came from fear. Some came from experiences that no longer reflect who you are today. Yet they continue influencing your life because they have never been challenged. The moment you begin questioning limiting beliefs, you begin reclaiming your power. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," ask, "How can I learn to do this?" Instead of saying, "I'm not capable," ask, "What skills can I develop?" Instead of saying, "I always fail," remind yourself, every successful person has failed before succeeding. These small shifts may seem insignificant, but they gradually reshape the way you see yourself. Confidence is not built through perfection. It is built through repeated evidence that you can face challenges and continue moving forward. The strongest people are not those who never experience doubt. They are those who refuse to let doubt become their master. Your future is listening to the thoughts you repeat today. Your actions are influenced by the beliefs you hold today. Your potential is either strengthened or weakened by the words you speak to yourself today. Choose those words carefully, because the voice you hear most often is your own. And when that voice begins speaking with encouragement, possibility, determination, and belief, you create an environment where growth can flourish. You begin to act differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to expect more from yourself. And that is the moment the best version of you starts stepping forward, leaving behind the limitations that negative self-talk once tried to impose on your life. If this message is touching something deep inside you, don't scroll away from the person you're meant to become. Subscribe right now and make a promise to your future self. Because one day, you'll either thank yourself for staying or regret walking away.